Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BellaConnections Podcast. Today, my guest is Ty Cohen, and I am so excited to introduce you all to him. He is the webinar king. He has been the go-to for digital publishing for decades. He is absolutely amazing, built multiple seven figures, and just an incredible human and person to know. I'm really grateful to have you here today, Ty. I just want to say thanks for being here. And yeah, really excited to introduce you to everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks. And when we first set this up, which was maybe about a month ago or so, we had met at an event. I've been thinking about it ever since because the energy that you bring, and then hopefully I bring some energy, and I think it'll be good for your audience.
Absolutely. Ty has an incredible energy, both in person and video. Like, just meeting him was just an instant, like, man, this guy is awesome. He clearly has a lot of knowledge, and he's like such a go-giver. So anybody who knows me knows I'm obsessed with the book Go-Giver, and Ty is that person. He is the epitome of it, always there to help people. He's the one who encouraged me to restart this podcast. So yeah, I'm really stoked to have you here today. And I have been creeping on you a little bit yesterday while I was waiting for my mom at the airport. I was creeping on Instagram. I know that sounds a little weird. But one of my favorite quotes that you said was, rich buy time, poor people buy stuff, and lazy people buy distractions.
Yeah, yeah,
Can
it
you tell
is.
me more about your theory there?
Yeah, Steve Jobs, right, founder of Apple, he used to have this saying, and he kind of, he was a great guy to some people, not so great guy to some people as well, right? But he had this way of life and business, and it was static and noise, right? So static and noise. So it's like the stuff that's the static is the things that you stick to that's going to help you to get the job done, right? So hence the word static. It is like if I'm building out my podcast, right? That's static, and I need to stick to that thing day in and day out. And it's one of the number one things that I'm going to accomplish each day. The noise is what might be happening in the P. Diddy trial. It might be what's on Instagram. It might be on Facebook. What's on Facebook. It's the random phone call. It's someone sending you a text that takes you away from your mission, the static, right? So those are the distractions. So I tend to see, when I'm coaching people, I tell them, look, as you start to make more money, what you're going to have is you're going to see lifestyle creep. And lifestyle creep is, now I want to go buy a better car. I want to buy a better house. I want to take better vacations. And you should, because you put the work in, right? But you have to do it with care, because all of those things become distractions that take you away from the mission that actually got you to the ability to be able to afford those things. So it becomes this crazy type of a loop there, right? And I've fallen for it, and we see a lot of people that fall for it, and then you have to self-correct. So that's what I mean by, buying the distractions, the extra thing that you now have to take care of. We got a damn pool here that we bought, and it's an incredible pool, incredible. But it is also the distraction. We got a pool guy, and then we got cleaning, and then the vacuums, and this, and I'm like, what the hell?
The management of those things that they enrich our lives in some ways, and also distraction. I get it.
Yeah. So it's that. So it's the distractions, and it's, if you think about that, right? And if you have that ability to stay focused enough to buy time, right, where you're doing things that allow you to live a higher quality of life and to reach higher shelves, but at the same time trying not to be distracted by the other things that you now want and can afford and can get because you have the means. So that's what I meant by that.
I love that. I love that explanation and your mindset around this. This is one of the main reasons, or many reasons, that I really enjoyed connecting with you at that event and just speaking with you since. It's just the mindset and the way you look at things and see things and your experience with these things. Because, like Steve Jobs, that example you gave specifically, like, he wore the same outfit every day to not have those kind of distractions. It's simplifying to maximize, kind of.
Yeah. Now that can be seen as crazy, right? So if unless somebody understands the mission, like, you get it. But if there's someone else, and sometimes your family members could, hey, why are you wearing the same thing every day? But he understood that he wanted to use more of his brain power for the things that are going to push the needle versus the things that were not. Right? So there you go.
I love it. I love it. It's those little things that make a difference. So So can you tell me, I mean, obviously your mindset and your experience and everything has been a huge driver in your success. Can you tell me how you got started and knew that this space was for you?
Yeah, so I had one real job in my life, and that was working at Walgreens Pharmacy. I started at Walgreens Pharmacy when I was 14. And I worked there until I was 23. And I started to build a business when I was 19 because I felt that working for someone else was not going to get me the freedoms that I wanted, right? The lifestyle freedom, the ability to work when I want, where I want, with who I want, and on the things that I want to work on. And I started as someone who was stocking the shelves at Walgreens, unloading trucks, and then moved to a cashier, then moved from assistant manager, then moved to a manager. And even as I moved up the ranks, I found like there still was this ceiling, right? So there was this income ceiling, and I'm like, man, this is not going to cut it out. So how do I do something else that's going to be a win-win for both me and the people that I serve? And that's when I started to study entrepreneurship because I didn't have any entrepreneurs around me. I grew up like in the hood, right? So the only entrepreneurs that I had around me were the type that could get you in trouble, and I knew that that wasn't going to be around either. So it was like, how do I go in and start to explore entrepreneurship when I don't have anyone to follow? And it was just asking that question, because then in asking that question, you start to see the right books, you start to see the right resources, you start to look at things differently, right? Versus I could have easily said, damn, I can't do this because I'm limited, right? And then you start to see more of that as well, right? So we get reinforcements of everything that we say. So being very careful on what you ask for. So that was my journey. So I was a big collector of, I also have something called sickle cell anemia. So I was born with sickle cell anemia, which is a chronic disease. And my mom and dad had 7 children, and out of the 7 children, only me and my sister Gwen had it. So I would be in a hospital. I literally have been hospitalized hundreds of times, and I would be in the hospital from a day or two to 3 or 4 weeks sometimes. And because I'm in the hospital so much, my mom would bring me things to read to take my mind off of the pain. So she would bring me, I mean, just anything. I'm reading like, Home Digest, and I'm reading the National Enquirer, and I'm reading, comic books. So one of the things that I really loved to read was comic books, and I built up this love for comic books. And then with that, this love for action figures. And then I started to have so many comic books and action figures as a kid. I'm like 17 now. And my mom comes into my room and she sees all this crap. And she's like, look, either you get rid of it or I'm going to throw it away. So she didn't see the value in it, but I knew that there was value. So that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. I'm like, there's no way I can let her throw this away. So I started advertising in these print magazines, right? And that's how I started with entrepreneurship. It was just putting in these little small ads that cost like $40, which was a lot to me at that time. And then I grew those ads more and more. I went from like a quarter size ad, a business card size ad, to like a quarter page to a half page to a full page, then multiple pages in these specialty magazines. And that right there, it gave me this bug where I was able to not only make money, but then also meet and talk to other weird people like myself who collected like action figures and comic books. And so I was like, it was like the best of both worlds. And that really got me started with entrepreneurship and along that journey there.
Yeah, that's huge. That's so like mind opening and eye opening too. It's like, you want to still enjoy your love for the action figures and the comic books and everything, but also share it with others. Like you kind of mentioned, is the community there and being able to share it.
Yeah.
And yeah, how old were you when you first started when that came? Like that is not something most kids are gonna think, let me start putting ads out and selling these.
Yeah.
How old were you?
So at that point, I probably was about 17 or 18. Now, mind you, so I was so infatuated with this stuff. Like I lived, breathing, and ate comic books and action figures, like collecting them. I still have a bunch of them in the garage now in boxes and things like that, the old G.I. Joes and all of that. And my wife and I were always battling about it. She's like, you gotta get rid of that junk. I'm like, no, that's our kids' college savings plan, whatever. Right. So I'm going through these magazines, and just one day again, it just dawned on me, like, man, what if I put an ad in? I started dreaming. Sometimes you have to be a dreamer. You have to just be unrealistic, right? So I said, what if I gamble and I take $40 and I put in an ad and I see what happened? Now, it took a lot of faith because these are print magazines. And now they printed 2 months in advance. So I was not going to see the return, if there was a return, for 2 months. So I'm putting an ad in July's edition, right? And now you don't see that until like September when it actually hits the newsstands at that time or whatever, right? And so that time comes, I'm just praying and praying and nothing happens. And then finally I started to get orders in and I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, this is crazy. And that was the start of it right there. So that's it.
I love that. I love that. How proud is your mom of you for doing this and like building everything you've built now?
Yeah, so my mom passed from stage 4 colon cancer 6 years ago. So she passed right before the pandemic. And so here's the funny thing. So with me selling digital products, she still never understood what it is that I do. It's like, you mean people are buying something online, you're not shipping them anything, but they're giving you money. So like you got this, lady in her 70s who's trying to figure out like this whole digital thing. And I'm like, yeah, ma, it works, right? And she knew it works because of all of the great trips and things like that we were able to take her on. And I, digital publishing is also something that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're doing now. Because I think it allows just a regular person who has a passion, and you don't even have to have a lot of belief, Michele, like in yourself. You just have to have a lot of passion and you know a little bit about something. You know just a little bit more than the audience is going to know. And if they can hear that energy in you, then you have something.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, and it could be anything.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's the reason that I love learning from people like you who are expert or anybody. And literally you can learn from anybody because everybody has something they're passionate about and they pour their energy into learning, understanding, and loving. And learning from people who are expertise in that in something that they love is such a faster and more fun way to expand your own knowledge and also, connect with someone. So I love that. And I love that, you transitioned from comic books and action heroes to digital publishing. Like what do you say? What do you see? I mean, you told me that when you first started this, like you were doing faceless webinars for a
Yeah.
while. Like how did you, or what's your secret sauce, I guess, behind webinars and digital publishing that you think has really made you and your customers a huge success?
It's being honest and it's being transparent. So Joe Vitale, who was one of the stars of The Secret, right? I remember speaking to him a long time ago, and he had said something. He says, he was talking about his copywriting process. So he says, and him and I would talk about writing copy, and I'm like, I love writing sales copy. When I'm writing it, it's at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. The house is quiet because we have 4 kids, right? And our kids were young at that time. So I'm like, that was the only time that I could get to write copy. So I'm sitting there on the floor and I've got a notepad and I'm actually writing my copy, and then I would take it and I would put it into an electronic format. He was like, oh my God, I do the same thing. So he's saying that he found that when he puts this energy into what he's actually writing, his customers can feel that same energy. So I
Mm.
took that and I'm like, as I'm doing webinars, because I used to be, I'm introverted. I'm really introverted. You probably can't tell by the way that I'm talking now and being a chatty patty, but it's the T, right? But I took that and I applied it to like almost everything, whether it's writing sales copy, whether it's webinars, whether it's doing something like this, because I think that we're all connected. And I think that when you have the energy and it's positioned in a way where you want people to win, they can feel that. Just like when you have this energy that you're projecting and you're trying to just get something from someone, they can feel like you're being a used car salesman, or you get that type of a vibe from someone. You know what I mean? And women and children are really good at that, right? So because my audience it's like 70% women. You've been on my podcast, you saw that, right? So they're just like all over the place. I'm like, man, I got to make sure that I'm putting out the right energy and that I always want people to win. And by doing that, I found that it comes back full circle. when you want people to win, you ultimately win. You win big time as well. So,
Absolutely. And you are such a leader in that and you really embody that and I totally agree like the energy you put into something like it's felt by other people. Like I've even tested it on like social media posts and stuff like when I'm in a negative or low frequency state and I put something out there versus a high frequency can be very similar things said in the same way or one stupider than the other. It doesn't really matter what's said as much
yeah.
as the energy and intent that's put behind it. And people feel that when they're purchasing your product, when they're working with you, everything that you're doing really. So I love that you know really focus on the energy behind it and the way that you support the women because being there and talk and seeing them and the energy and the excitement that they had by working and talking with you was just it's incredible and the way that you lead them, the support you lend in mindset and everything. Do you think with that like I mean, what have you seen in your community and with the courses and digital products you're building now? What have you seen that's especially changed lately now with AI? Like, how are you coming over that wild attention hub that we've got going on right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. So what I've seen is I've seen two groups. I've seen the people that are kind of stuck because they think that there's no longer a need for courses because of AI. And then I see the group that are like, oh my God, now we can really do so much more, right? Because of AI. Like we can make our courses look better. We can make them much more valuable in terms of the content that's there, right? We can go deeper. We can talk to different segments of audiences, which is where we're at. So those are the two things that I'm saying. There's people that are a little bit paralyzed right now because of AI and they're afraid and they're stuck. It's the pandemic all over again, but in a different way. So do you remember that? Like there were two groups of people. There were people that were just stuck because of the uncertainty, which is in all of us. And then there were people that was like, okay, well, this is crazy. I don't know what's going on, but it's also my time to just like go hard. And I think that right now with AI, it's like your time to just, I tell people to stick to one or two platforms. There's so many different platforms. I got a buddy of mine, Greg Caesar, who you had met at the event, I think. Every morning he sends me a link. Dude, did you see this? Did you see this? I'm like, I don't say this to him. I'm like, no, Greg, I'm not taking a look at it. But in my head, I'm like, this is noise, static or noise,
Yeah.
right? So I do really well with the chat GTPs, with the, Leonardo's and with the platforms that we're using, right? The Hey Jans and that stuff. So even though there's a ton of others that are out there, I tell people that look, you find one or two that can do the things that you need. So you find one for text, like if you're looking to write copy or create courses, right? Use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever works for you. If you need video, right, go in and use like VEO3. If you're looking for images, you can use like a diagram or you can whatever. But don't like get distracted by every single thing that's coming out every day because you'll never move. So,
Absolutely. Like that is huge. That's you know, I you see so many posts and content on social about this new thing, this new one. I just created this, I created that. Oh, check out my new AI, this, that, and the new programs. I mean, they are solving so many problems. They're replacing so many services, so many SaaS products. You know, it's incredible what's being done and the speed that it's being done. But if you allow yourself to fall into the trap of just consuming all this knowledge without actual implementation and giving yourself that free time, it really is just noise and distraction. And it's really hard to focus and build anything. So
yeah.
what would you say has been like the things that you're building and working on right now that light you up the most?
Yeah, so it is that. It is creating new products, new offers for our customers, digging deep into what is it that they're having the most problems with, right? And then being able to serve them. And again, you don't have to be like this grand master that's 50 steps ahead of it. Like you just need to be a couple of steps ahead of them in order to be able to serve them really well. So I'm finding that out more and more. And I kind of got to that point where I had gone to so I had gone to medical college. I wanted to become a nurse because I had sickle cell anemia and I had all of these issues as a kid, right? And I remember in A&P class, one time we had this professor, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but we're talking about like, how do you know all of this stuff? And she just said, like, in this really matter of fact way, like, I don't know it all. I just have to stay a chapter or two ahead of the class.
Mm.
And I was like, what? Like, we're paying all this money. And then I heard Russell Brunson kind of, so like decades later, I heard Russell Brunson kind of say the same thing. So I'm at Funnel Hacking Live one day, and he kind of said the same thing. He's like, I really don't know and embody all of the stuff. I just know a little bit more than you guys. He says, before each event, before each webinar, or whatever it is, I'm just going in and studying a little bit more than what the masses might know. And
Hmm.
boom, that's it, right? So that's what I tell people to do, and that's what we do, and it's worked out really, really, really well. So that's it. That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And like there, and also to look at it and frame it as like, you know, a little bit more about this one thing that you love than your customers, other people do. Cause a lot of times we get caught up in this, content consumption. Oh, everybody knows more or is better. And like if you're not creating, and you're not putting out what you know, you just get stuck in a cycle. And so I think that recognizing that you know just a little bit more and to follow the people who know just a little bit more, it's a collaborative approach to it. So I love that you do that and that you frame it that way. And I'm curious, how do you position that like within your products and like, webinars and promotions and stuff like that? Like what do you see is your a little bit more right now?
Yeah. So for me, it's for most people, and it doesn't matter what the industry is. Doesn't matter what the industry is. It is getting visibility for themselves. It is
Mm.
learning how to market themselves, right? So it is, how do I get the book out so that more people are aware of it? If I've got a software, how do I find investors? How do I get more customers for this software? How do I advertise it more? Which platforms do I use? How much of a budget should I have, right? Who do I actually target? Like, a lot of people don't even know who their audience is, who they
Yeah.
should target. So typically we'll start with the marketing. And then when we start with the marketing, and again, this applies to any industry, it doesn't matter what the topic is. You could be someone that offers a home decorating service, and I guarantee the most challenging issue for you is not how to decorate or not what the latest trends are, but it is getting new clients. So regardless of what it is that you might have, we're doing a podcast, right? So a podcast, it is like, how do I get more people to tune in to listen to this thing and to come back consistently?
Yeah.
So that's what it is right there. So we always start with that, the marketing, and then if we can get people results marketing wise, you become like a guy, and then everything else becomes so much easier. But you've like overcome the biggest hill, So that's typically it right there for almost everything.
I love it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because they specialize in the product. They know it, and that's their jam. Marketing is your expertise, and that's I mean, one of your many expertise in your jam. And if you can just help them, which also is serving more people because you're helping them get their expertise out and serving more people. So it's expanding your impact and reach more further. So I'm curious with that is what is your goal, vision, big picture, impact, and reach that you're going for in life?
Yeah, so for me, it's a huge one. It is to positively impact 100 million people a year. So if you're watching this podcast, if you're listening, and if you know of a way that I can do that more so, then help me. Now, here's the thing. So it doesn't have to be in any specific way. It could be making someone smile. It could be you see someone in the grocery store and you're just complimenting them. It could be hopefully giving value to you guys on this podcast, right? It could be giving you this one light bulb moment where you're taking it and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think about that. And then you then go in and do something with it, and then that allows you to go in and impact, 1,000 people. And then those 1,000 people, one or two of them get something, and then that allows them to impact. So you see how that works? So it's like this butterfly effect that happens where just because I'm making this one decision, it has the potential to go in and impact millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions. So that's why we should never, ever not go in and reach within ourselves and do what it is that we were gifted to do. Like, we should never not do that, because it's not only about us, but there's so many other people that are losing out. Like, doing podcasts and webinars and speaking from the stage and all of this stuff, like, it takes a lot in me. I gotta pray. I gotta grab my lucky rabbit's foot. I gotta do all of these crazy things. But I also know that it is not about me. So sometimes we have to let go of ego because it's all about how we feel. So I'm like, look, it's not about you, Ty. Like, there's probably someone right now, but if you don't go in and do this, they're not going to go in and live this life filled with destiny that they should live. Or they're in this place that is a really dark place for them. And maybe you might say something that makes them laugh. Or maybe you might share your story that gives them some hope or inspiration. So you see how, like, when we think about all this crazy stuff between our heads and we limit it to just us, we're really depriving so many other people of who they could be. And I think that's a really selfish place to be, Michelle. No, I'm just
So when we first met, Ty was this is the speech. I mean, it's a version of the speech that Ty gave me to like, you need to do this podcast, you need to put this out there. And I loved it. And I really appreciate and resonate with that because it isn't always easy to put yourself out there. It can feel uncomfortable, it can feel scary. But like you're saying, like the people that you touch from it, even if it's just one person who then affects another person who affects 1,000 people and so on and so forth, it's the impact that you're creating for the greater good. So thank you.
hopefully for the greater good, right? Hopefully it's for the greater good. So we'll
That's
see.
true.
Right. There's some people that might have some podcasts that are not for the greater good, right? So, but we're talking to people that are on the side. So that's
Yes,
right.
exactly. Exactly. And what we're putting out there is meant to help people and be positive
Right.
and share insights from others and open your mind versus controlling or directing it. So I think that's also something that is important to consider too, is like how do you, I mean, it just kind of sparked a question here, is how do you kind of keep your webinars from feeling like you are trying to necessarily control an audience versus opening their minds and supporting, and not just webinars, I mean everything you're doing,
Yeah.
opening their minds and supporting them to be able to fill their destiny, like and impact in the way that they're meant to.
Yeah, it goes back to the energy, right? And it's being really intentional because you can do a webinar. Like I've done probably about 7,000 webinars, right, over the years. You can do these things, and many of those were before like the whole evergreen record it once, and you know what I mean. So it's like when you had to, you're doing it and then you're there. But
Actually.
you could go in and you could say, okay, well, I'm getting on stage again, right? You're Bruno Mars or you're Michael Jackson or whoever, Prince, right? And you're getting on stage again and you're singing these songs that the audience wants to hear because they're the audience favorites, but you have sung them 5,000 times, and in your head you're like, Jesus, are you serious? Like I got all this new material, but then again, you're making it about yourself. So when you go in and you take this energy and you remove yourself from it, and you're like, there's someone that has probably that's probably going to see this for the very first time. I need
Right.
to go in and give my best. Jim Rohn, I heard him say something one time before he passed. He was like, whether there's when he's going out and he's speaking from the stage, whether there's 1,000 people that are out there or one person, give it your best. Right. So when I first started doing webinars, and there's a lot of people that are like this, whether it's social media, whether it's a podcast like this, whether it's your YouTube channel, you might just see one like, one comment, right? One form of engagement. And you're like, why am I doing this? After 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and there's still nothing, it's still crickets. But again, that one person, if you go in and you give them your all, they could be the catalyst that gets the thousands in. And you just never know, right? So when I approach these webinars, now it doesn't happen all the time because I am human, but when I'm conscious of it, and sometimes being conscious of it includes having sticky notes that are like, hey, be authentic, bring me energy. Don't forget this, don't forget that, right? So I've got sticky notes. If you look down here, I've got all types of crap here. Like, right? But they could be reminders so that when your memory doesn't kick in, hopefully you remember to look down. But if you don't remember to look down, you're really screwed. Um, but that's it. It is just bringing the energy and just really wanting people to win. I think when you want people to win, then what happens is you give them more resources and chances to help people win, including yourself. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with one. I got a shirt on that says make bank. Right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to win in whatever way that looks like for you, and then other people being able to win as well. Right? So that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got some great
Absolutely.
questions there.
I mean, that's you. I'm just rolling off the cuff. I had all these great questions planned for us, and I'm just having fun talking to you and getting to pick your brain. So I appreciate you answering my off the cuff questions here, and the way you responded to that. Because, like, especially when you were saying about the same songs over and over. I went to this concert recently,
Yeah.
and I
Who
would
was it? Wait, who was it? What was it?
it was like a whole festival. It's I think one of the
Okay.
first festivals I've been to, but they had all kinds of them. I was most excited for Weezer. I was like so stoked. It was the last
Oh,
one.
it was in Charlotte, right?
Yes, yes, in
Yeah.
Charlotte, the big festival.
Yeah.
Well, and of course I love Ludacris too, but I mean I was like stoked for Weezer. We
Yeah.
went to the Luda show before Weezer, and man, I had the best time. It was amazing. He played like all the old stuff. He intertwined some of his new stuff, but he like kept it like real good, real fun, really engaged. And that was and his performance was engaging. Weezer, we left early. We left early because it was like mostly new stuff. And I'm sure like it was kind of good, but it was a very long, rainy day. And it just wasn't as exciting because it wasn't about the people as much um,
Yeah. Wow,
and your
that's a good example.
audience.
That's
So
a good example of it. Yeah. Whereas with
just,
the Ludacris, those songs you knew, right? And there's this energy again. It goes back to the energy, right? And the crowd's probably there, and then now you're all feeding off of one another. He probably knows that because he's a super intelligent guy.
yeah.
Especially when it comes to this stuff, like the metaphysics and just all of the stuff that goes into it. So yeah, so that makes total sense. That's a great example.
Well, and just engaging, yeah, it's just engaging your audience further. And it expands to so many areas too. It expands to how you work with your team, it expands to how you engage with your relationships and your life and everything. And the authenticity part. I think the authenticity is key and something that I absolutely love about you, because you're a very authentic person. You tell it straight and you're like, no, this is it, but with like a nice cushion of love.
Right, right. A little, it's like, psh, I love you, though. But now, so here's the thing. So, Michelle, so there's somebody that's watching this, and they're like, okay, well, Ty or Michelle, you guys might have an audience, right? And you may have gone through this, so you know what the audience wants already. But what about for me, the person that's just starting out? Or what about for the person that, and this is almost everyone, that has the imposter syndrome, right?
Mhm.
How do we get past that? And I think the way that you do that is, again, being authentic, and that is, look, you follow other people to get guidance and an understanding of how it should be done, but you don't become a clone of those people. There's
Mhm.
something about you, right? And the stories, the trials, the obstacles, the good things that have happened in your life, the freckles that you might have on your face, the color of your hair, if you're bald headed, whatever. If you're a man, you're a woman, you're black, you're white. There's something unique about you that people are going to tie into. And when
Mhm.
you focus on the fact that there's 7 or 8 billion people on this earth, and you just need a small amount of those people that resonate with your quirkiness, then you get it. You know what I mean? And those are people that you hone in on. And when you hone in on those people first, then all of the others are like, oh, what's happening? Then they want to be a part of it. You ever see like something's happening, like if there's some commotion, people are like, there's people that are gonna run, of course, but then there's the people that are like, what the heck is going on? And they're looking. So if you can focus in on the people that are like you instead of trying to get everyone,
Mhm.
that's where you start. You start with your tribe, and then you have fun with it. Like you have to give your tribe a name. You have to give them an identity. So like with our like so I've got a couple of tribes. So one of them, there are Kindle publishers, right? So I'll call them Kindlers, right? So these are the Kindlers. So now I've given them this identity that they can kind of relate to. When you did my podcast and I had, all of the folks that were on there, those are our one percenters, right? Because they're the one percenters that are crazy enough to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to join me on a podcast, because some of them are on the West Coast. Some of them are over in the UK and it's 1 or 2 o'clock for them. Some of them are in Australia, right? So I'm like, No one else would do this. Only we would do it. The one percenters every Monday. So now they identify with that. So does that make sense? Like you get these people that, and I make fun of the fact that look, we're just the weirdos, right? So and they love it. They identify with that. So you could again, it could be home decorating. You could be like, look, no one else loves home decorating as much as we do. We're the weirdos, but we're the one percenters when it comes to the home decorators. And that those people that are on this earth that identify with you, those are the ones that are going to give you like all of your undivided attention. And they're also going to buy from you. And they're also going to tell other one percenters that love the home decorating about you. They're like, hey, we finally found our leader. And this is it, right? So you just have to focus on who you are, be okay with that, and then all of those other people will come along. You know where I got this from?
Huh.
So I was doing an event. I was speaking out in London one time, and my luggage didn't get there.
Oh
So
no.
I'm always in a t-shirt and jeans, right? And this is when I first started speaking, and I had like this badass suit. I had the shoes, I had the socks, everything, because I thought that that's would help me close with speaking and everything. So my luggage didn't get there. I made the mistake of flying in that same day, which is I learned two lessons. Number one, don't fly in the same day you're supposed to speak, um, especially when it's the first time you're speaking somewhere you don't know the area. And then the other lesson was because I was forced. It was later in the evening, and the stores were closed, so I couldn't go in and get anything. So I kind of was forced to get on stage with what I had on, right? Um, and I ended up being out of like 11 speakers there, voted number one. I ended up selling the most. I ended up closing the highest. And it was because I went there as who I was, with all of my flaws and speaking and using the wrong damn words every once in a while and all this other stuff. And it wasn't the Ty that would try to be in the Armani suit and get up there and speak in a way where he normally didn't speak. You know what I mean? Like, then there's this audience of just, they're Londoners. They can be really brash, right? But they appreciate it. And then I realized, like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing wrong. I haven't just I have not been being myself. I've been trying to please everyone except for the people that are going to resonate with me. And that was like, from that moment there, I just took off the suit. And when I say suit, I'm talking about just not just a suit in the traditional sense, but the suit. And I just stepped into being who I am, and then boom, that's it. So that's the best
I
thing.
That authenticity draws in the people who resonate with you and the people who, they see you as like as somebody that they respect and also appreciate and
Relatable too.
relatable. Yes,
Because
exactly.
nobody's perfect,
No.
right? So even when I'm having a bad hair day, like I'm still
Sorry. You had to do that. You're still
still
you.
on.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think it's so important to be relatable, especially in a time where, AI videos and all this kind of stuff is going on, like AI everywhere, and we're really competing on attention right now. And to be relatable in your niche, in what you love, and build that space and community where people feel safe to express themselves in that way and to grow themselves in that way. Like you mentioned the Kindle community, you also have the 1% community, like where and you do a lot with courses and just all around digital publishing. Let's say somebody is either, where would you say that somebody who has this wonderful idea and they want to get it out there and they want to help people with this thing that they're obsessed with, say they're a plant lady like me, where would you suggest they start in this digital world? Like what would your plan be?
That's a great question. So I would go in and first find out what the problems are. So you can go in, like find out what are the most common things that people are asking. Like, and you want real life questions and problems and, you know, things that just aggravate people. Like what keeps them up at night and what seems like a huge issue to them, whereas to other people it may not be, right? So if it's a plant, there might be something to you where maybe the leaves, right, or maybe bugs. I know nothing about plants, even though my wife loves plants too. Um, but there might be something that to you is a huge issue, But then when you mention it to me or to one of your neighbors, we're just looking at you like, what the hell are you talking about, Michele? Right? So those are the problems that you have to figure out. And great places to do that, like Reddit is really good. Like if you go in and you look on Reddit, you'll see just like problems and questions and comments and solutions to like everything.
Mhm.
Find the ones that come up the most often. And here's the thing, you only need one or two. Like you
Yeah.
just need one or two. You could build out an entire channel. You could build out an entire social media presence just answering one question. Like, for example, if you were someone who helped people to market their books, your channel could only talk about ways to go in and market your books. And then if you wanted to dig down even deeper, you could have a channel or social media presence that only talk about paid ways to market your books, or free ways to market your books, or ways to market your books using AI, or building a two-man team, and that's how you market your, you know what I mean? So like, I think the biggest mistake that people make, and I made this mistake over and over again, is trying to again serve this wide audience. Was like, hey, we're gonna go in and show you how to go in and be the best person when it comes to plants. Instead of specializing on one type of plant, it could be Japanese tomato gardens, right? Like I'm your know-all, end-all, be-all when it comes to Japanese tomato gardens. I'll show you how to grow them outside. I'll show you how to grow them indoors. I'll show you how to grow them in a small space. I'll show you how to grow them in rows. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
people hone in on that. So once you have those like questions or the biggest problems, then you go to social media and you continuously sing the same song over and over and over again. You answer those one or two problems in the same way, and you get creative and you answer them over and over and over again in different formats. It could be video, it could be a carousel, it could be a story, it could be a single post, it could be a text post, it could be a photo of you in your Japanese tomato garden with text, right? Hey, here's the 5 things that I learned about growing a healthy Japanese tomato garden after doing this for 10 years. And then now that's a picture carousel. And then you're like, hey, comment the word tomatoes if you want to get access to my course.
Mm.
And then you start building out your list. You know who's good at this? And when I say good at this, I mean talking about the same darn thing over and over and over again. Grant Cardone.
Mm.
He's a master at, if you go in, guy's got like 9,000 videos, but every single one of them almost talks about the same 3 or 4 things. It's, hey, I grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I've never even heard of Lake Charles, Louisiana, right? But because I grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, right? How he used to be on drugs and how you don't buy a house, you invest in real estate. But he's
Yeah.
been able to repurpose that over and over and over again into a $1 billion brand. Now, the mistake that we make is, well, aren't people going to get tired of hearing me talk about the same thing? That's ego again,
Mm.
right? Instead of serving the audience. So that's a really good question. So
That's really interesting and a really good, relation in terms of, Grant Cardone and all that stuff. Because even I'm thinking like, how could I say the same thing over and over and like people won't get bored, but it's me who gets bored.
it's
It's my
you.
ego. It's not what the customer wants and what the customer needs. So that's really interesting way of framing it. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. So
Look, if you could get past the boredom, you can have almost anything you want in life. Think about it. If you can get past the boredom of doing it, you can have one of the biggest social media accounts. You could have one of the best businesses. You could have the best body. If you can get past the boredom of going to the gym and doing what you need to do every single day, right? I'm talking to myself now.
same.
Taking the gym supplements, right? Taking the protein. The boredom of doing that repetition every single day. The boredom of eating the right way, eating clean. Uh, Success literally comes down to doing the things that are going to move the needle the most and doing them long enough to the point where you can fight the boredom and you're crazy enough to still do them even when you're like tired of doing it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. So if you look at everybody, it's you look at Elon Musk, you look at Steve Jobs, those guys, they understood that, right? They understood the fact that you look at the most successful people again online, and they're doing the same thing. When it comes to social media, if you're not consistently uh publishing on a regular basis, which is the issue for a lot of people, because you don't see results right away,
Yeah.
right? Then it's like, oh my God, this is not working. So it is being okay with doing the boring work day in and day out until you start to see results. And sometimes that might take, a year. It might take 2 years, right? But
That's how you build. That's how you build slow. I think that's one of the, I've heard you talk about this too. Is like one of the top keys for success is just getting comfortable with doing the same thing over and over. And it's what a lot of entrepreneurs talk about and struggle with is, we do it for a couple years and we have this big shiny ball idea and we just are chasing all these things to keep our mind and excitement going. And people in general, it's not just entrepreneurs, it's people who want to build more and do more.
but
Um,
we're because we're creative
yes.
and we get all the ideas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And chasing those and the problem with that, and this is something I've struggled with in the past too, and I've been honing in the last few months again for the millionth time, is sticking with the one thing, sticking with what you started, finishing it out. It might feel boring, but that's how you build an empire, is being bored with, not bored, but finding joy in being consistent with something that's not always as exciting as everything else. And I think one thing that's helped me, oh, you go ahead. Sorry, you were going to
No,
say
no,
something.
no. Go ahead. I was just. This is interesting. I want to stay on this. Go ahead. What's helped you?
Well, I this guy Dale John talked about this in a mastermind once, is he allows himself to chase some of the shiny balls,
Yeah.
but every so often, like every quarter, and this is what I've been implementing, is every quarter review all the things you have going on, see what's actually serving the bottom line, the impact, finances, everything that truly matters to what you're trying to build, and like just ruthlessly cut anything that is not within those parameters. So it allows you a little bit of space to chase things. And like I've been scheduling out like an hour a day for my fun projects.
Mhm.
But aside from that, like being consistent with the other things. And I think that's helped me. Like what's helped you with this?
No, that's good. That is really good. It is, and I kind of do the same thing, right? So every quarter we'll go in. I'll review every quarter and then end of year, and like what's moving the needle and what's getting me closer. Because things are only doing one of three things: either you're stagnant, right? The actions that you're taking are really not doing much for you, and that could be the social media. It could be scrolling social media. It could be, whatever it might be. That's not. And then there's some things that are going to push you backward. That could
Mhm.
be. Um, Maybe going out and having a social night, right? Let's say you go out, you get drunk, and that's the next day you're unable to do anything. That's pushing you backward,
Mhm.
right? Then there's things that are going to push you forward. It could be the thing that you found that is working, and now you include that into your daily routine. So now it's pushing you forward even more and more and more. It's just having a reminder. So one of the things, like I was talking about sticky notes, right? So I have a sticky note here, and this one simply says, I will do what is required, not what I want or feel like, right?
Mm.
I will do what is required, not, you can't see that, but trust me on this one. I will do what is required, not what I want or feel like. So when I get into those modes of like, oh my God, do I want to get on another sales call or talk to my team again and hear their bitching and moaning? Hopefully they're not watching this. Um,
You
I'm
can
like,
edit.
I will do what is required, not what I want or feel like. And then suck it up, man up, go into Superman pose and jump in. And that's it. So sometimes you got to talk to yourself.
I love that. I love that. And that's a great quote and reminder to keep. It reminds me of my mom. She does keep sticky notes of like just powerful quotes everywhere. And
That's
I think it's super helpful. I'm a little bit more anal about what I have around me, but I have them on my screen and things like that. And that's a powerful one to keep, is like, what's required. Also, you mentioned on there some teams. So I know I've been asking you a lot of questions. Do you mind me asking just a couple
yes.
about your team, and like, how did you know when you needed to start expanding to grow a team? And what's been like one of the biggest things that you look for when sourcing your talent?
Oh, those are really good questions. So I knew, so I'll be honest with you. So I do not like doing customer support. I don't like answering emails. I don't like doing all of that stuff. And I love my customers. I love our clients, right? But I just, for some reason, I'm the worst when it comes to responding to people. So for me, that was it. It was like, man, I'm getting these negative complaints. I'm getting complaints online. I'm like, this is when I first started. And I'm
Mm,
like, I got to do something because I got a great business. I got a great product. I forget what it was I was selling. I was selling digital courses for musicians, I think, at that time. And yeah, it was just like, I got to get somebody in. I knew that customer support wasn't a strong point of mine, right? I'm great at marketing, great at writing copy, great at creating products. So I went in and I hired three different individuals, not all at once. But one of those individuals, it's been like 17 years. Her name is Sherry Adams. She's still with me to this day, right?
wow.
So it's like understanding the things that you just are terrible at, like you just suck at, because there are people that love doing those things. Like they
Mhm.
love doing it. She is incredible. When we do like our 3-day events and our webinars, she's there and she gets praise, and people are like, "Oh, Sherry's amazing," and I'm like, "Well, what about me? I'm the one that put the damn thing together, you know." But so it's figuring that out, and I'll tell you, it took me a year of being at the point when I needed to hire someone before I actually did it, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I thought, who am I to go in and hire someone? I didn't know anything about it, which is wrong, because most people have some type of you've got some transferable skill set from what you've done in the past, whether it was working for someone or whatever that you could bring into your business. That was the first thing. The second thing was, no one's going to be able to do it as good as I can, which is a
Mhm.
foolish way of thinking about it, because even if you can get someone that can do it 60% of the way that you could, it's still off of your to-do list, right? Instead of having this long ass to-do list that just continues to grow and grow and you never do anything, but you hire someone who can do it 60, 70% as good as you could, and it gets done, right? So done is better than none. And then the third thing was that I always said, okay, well, and this was starting out, and if you're watching this, you're just starting out, the funds was an issue for me. Like, how do I go in and afford to hire someone when I'm barely making any money in my business, or this business is brand new, right? And what I learned was, because and we talk about this a lot in our community, hiring the right people, and how to go in and hire, and how to get A+ people, and how do you deal with those people. This is huge for me. So I love this question. So that the other thing was, you don't have to go in and hire someone full time. You don't even have to go in and hire someone quarter of a time. You could go hire people project per project base on a project per project basis, or on as needed basis. So in the case of Sherry, when I brought her on, it was just like, look, for every support ticket that comes in, I'm going to pay you $1 if you answer it. Right? So if I had 7 support tickets that week, it was $7. Now it sounded crazy. It still sounds crazy saying it, but it sounded crazy saying it at the time, right? But she was like, okay. And now Sherry's here in the US. So I don't think, yeah, that's the other question. Well, was she in the Philippines? But still, she's here in the US. Now, over time, that has grown as the business grows, right? Now it might be 50, it might be 70 support tickets. And I don't pay her $1 anymore. She's since gotten multiple raises now, right? So she's doing, because she's grown with us. So you go in and you start and you're like, hey, look, I need a graphic created. I'll pay you $5 to create this, right? Or I need this report done, and I'll pay you $50. And the reason why you want to start out really small is so that you get used to going in and hiring people, right? You
Mm,
go on a platform like Upwork, which is one of my favorite. I was looking at our account. We spent like over 1.5 million just hiring different people on Upwork over the years, and hundreds of different people for hundreds of different projects. But it's like you start out really small so that you get used to it and you build out that muscle. And then you get used to leaving people reviews, and you get used to getting reviews and asking for them, and you get used to giving instruction, and you get used to understanding who do you hire. So all of these little things will help you if you go in and you just get past ego. You go in, you do it. You get used to like writing out a project, and you get used to being very clear as to what you need done, and right, what they're expecting, what you expect from them, and what their role is, and what their responsibility is, and what a job well done looks like, right? So all these little things you just learn over time. So great question there again.
I love that. I love that. And all of your points there are it makes so much sense. Like it is a skill that you have to develop. It's a skill you have to try out and don't be afraid to start with smaller projects. Like you don't have to be bringing somebody on full time right away or, with consistency until also this is a great way to understand like if they're good for your business, if you're a good fit working together by doing project-based things to start and understand becoming more clear on what it is you need, what it is you want. And I also want to mention, like what you were saying about the customer support stuff, is it's not just that you don't like it or you think you're not good at it, but you're
Oh
getting
no, I didn't like it, and I wasn't good at it.
well, yes, that is absolutely true, but I mean, maybe it's true. I'm not going to say absolutely, but the other side of that is you're getting all of the negative feedback, which brings down your morale and your desire to be doing this thing
And
when
you revenue.
that positive is not being seen. It's not being constantly fed to you because
Mhm.
most, we focus on that negative and we're going to receive more negative responses over email than we are of the good things that we're putting out there. So it actually inhibits you from reaching the amount of people you want to reach because you were doing something that wasn't a fit for you. So it slowed down your growth in all. But I mean, just everything you said about that, the delegation, if it's just because it's not as good, it's 60% as good, or maybe they have new ideas and ways to collaborate that can expand your business and new ideas. So I really love that and appreciate that. But especially that you have somebody who's been around for 17 years.
Yeah.
How in the biscuits do you have a culture and what do you do to keep her around?
Yeah, it's just positivity, like we have a really positive, like I don't do well with complaints and drama and all that stuff. As a matter of fact, when we have that, man, I just get rid of it quickly. Like you'll see it, especially like because we have a sales team. So when you have like a sales team, you have coaches and some might be fighting for commissions. And I spoke to that person first. And well, I spoke to him 6 years ago and this person, John, just sold them today. Shouldn't I get a percentage of that because I first spoke to them 3 years ago? I'm like, no, are you crazy? Like so it is just having like this culture where um, everyone wants the community to win. And because of that, they're going to move in the same direction. So when it's about like the customer should always be first. So
Yeah.
when it's all about the customer, when the customer is first and you make your team aware of that, then they're doing things to move in that direction of putting the customer first. Right. And then everything else starts to fall in place. So now when you're talking to a customer or you're presenting to a customer or you're part of a community or you're posting in the community, it is with that mindset of the customers first. How do they get the most out of this? And then they see that, the customers see that. They also can tell when you have people that don't understand that, right? Because again, in sales, you'll have people that are really good at sales and they're like sharks, and that's what their mind is set on, right? It's just making the sell. So I'll say anything, do anything, provide anything, guarantee anything just to get the sell because they're thinking about the commission. But then you have people, and I'll pull salespeople from within our community, like Caroline, who was on the MMM, my co-host. So she actually was one of my students who came from the community, and then I made her one of my sales coaches, which is what she still does to this day. So she sells. But then I also made her one of my coaches in charge of one of my programs. So we have a high ticket program where I haven't even had to go in and do one of those training calls in like 4 years because Caroline does the training call.
Wow.
Right? So you pull directly from the community for everything, for the teaching, for the coaching, for the sales, because no one knows the product better than a student that has had success with it. Right? So Caroline is one of my students that has had massive amounts of success with this program actually right here. This is the older version of it, of course, because it's in
Oh,
uh,
okay. I love it.
but the Kindle Castle program. So massive success with it. And a lot of our coaches, right, that have had success with it, boom, they come in because they can genuinely talk to the students. They can genuinely sell it because they're selling it from a position of like, man, this thing changed my life. Like, I'm talking not just because I'm getting a commission, but because I actually, like, I started taking this thing, you know what I mean? And it's working for me. I want it to work for you too. not, I want to sell you this thing because I'm gonna get a commission.
Yeah.
Sure, to get a commission, but it also works for me, right? So I think if you can get your audience, your community, your following to a point where you get enough people eventually, and then you start pulling from them, you don't have to go outside to pull. That's a long ass way of saying just pull from your community.
No, I love that. That's one of the best ways to be sourcing, especially in the beginning, especially with support people or, customer success people, coaches, because they know your product, they love it, and they have been really diving into it. So I love that you have that and that she's, been around and, grown so much with the company and multiple people have in that way. So I really appreciate that and everything you shared. I have one last question for you today.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is, what do you think is a trait that you embody and other successful entrepreneurs embody that allows you to reach the levels that you have reached?
For me, I would personally say just being stubborn, like having like this tunnel vision. So like putting blinders on and when something works, just going hard with it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like not allowing myself to not be distracted by the other things. Because I used to be the opposite. I used to be the guy with nothing but different courses on his hard drive and buying everything and not going through anything and
Mhm.
partially going through them and it's just like one day it just clicked like oh my god like I just need to double down, go into monk mode, and just it's like my wife and I we've been together for 22 years, right? 23 coming up.
Wow.
If you are in a relationship, and if you want to be serious, like it's hard to do anything if you're in multiple relationships. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the same thing with business. It's hard to try to go in and double down on something if you've got 7 or 8 different products or courses you're going through or businesses that you want to go in and start without having major success in one. I'm not saying that you can't have multiple businesses because I've got tons of them, but it is starting one, getting it to a point where it's running, and then being able to bring other people in before you go in and you start playing around with other things. So I think that right there is the answer. It's going into monk mode, having this tunnel vision, and then it's being super stubborn, and it's eating the same thing every single day.
I love that. I love that. I think that's and the drive, and like you were talking about earlier, is it may feel boring, but getting yourself to the point where you can and are delegating to teams so you can start other things. Because I know you're involved in so many other things. You've built some real estate uh stuff going on there. I saw you guys just closed on
We've
some
been looking around. Oh,
HPC.
okay.
Huh?
I said you've been seeing some things. There you go.
Yeah, I told you I was creepy on Instagram last night. I was waiting for my mom at the airport, so I was like, man, that's awesome. Because I know when we met, you were telling me how your wife, she has been really in charge of and setting up the Airbnbs, home decorating, managing that, and to be able to support your partner and also growing a business in that way, I think is super powerful. While you're also supporting so many other women and people in creating their own digital marketing business. So, or not just digital marketing, digital product business,
Digital products, yeah, in general, yeah, yeah.
and
Which
giving
becomes
everything
fun.
out. What's that?
It becomes fun. I think that look, when you have something, you have a system, and it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your education level, doesn't matter your background, right? A system will work as long as you believe in it. That's the key. So I think a lot of like the biggest problem that we'll have is we don't believe that the thing will work, whatever the thing is. It could be anything. It could be the course that we're going through. It could be uh, the relationship advice that we're getting. It could be whatever. It could be the exercise regimen. If we see that other people have gotten results from it, it is just usually our belief that we are incapable of getting the results or that we don't deserve, which is a big one, to get the results, right? But a system is a system is a system, and it will work in most cases if you should just follow the system. What happens is we'll deviate, we'll go in, and we'll like, I see that this recipe says, 3 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, but I like eggs. I'm gonna put 4 eggs in. I'm trying to stay away from sugar. So I'm gonna put stevia in instead. And now you got something that is not like a cake at all.
Yep.
Right? So it is that. Hey Michelle, this has been amazing. So I appreciate you having me on this thing. And this is it. Great questions, like I said.
This has been so great. I really appreciate all of your insights and your time today. And everybody who's listening, please go check out tycohen.com. We'll make sure that's in the description so you can connect with Ty. He is an incredible person to know, to be around, and also to learn from, and just, have that kind of support, mindset, advice, as well as everything digital products. Like, this guy is your man. And I really appreciate you being here today, Ty. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great.